Hi everyone, welcome to Stack Mastery. In the last episodes, we talked about how to validate inputs and return proper status code. Today, I want to talk about dependency injection in ASP.NET Core, which is one of the most important topics when we are talking about designing ASP.NET Web API. And to understand that, first we need to understand something called the IOC pattern or inversion of control before dependency injection. Also in this context, we should know what is tight coupling and what issues it brings for us. Then we can have a good understanding of dependency injection and IOC and why we should go through them. So let's start by this category service. So as you guys remember, we had a category service and we had also a controller, a category controller. So as you guys remember, here there are some logics that we are having, which are for getting a category or for creating a category, for updating and for deleting. So these logics technically shouldn't be in a controller because the controller is not a proper place for putting this kind of the codes. These kind of code are better to place in category services. So category service is a place that we can manage all the logics around categories, like getting categories from database, creating a category, updating or deleting. So all those logics is better to be here rather than being here. So let's first transfer all these logics to category service, and then we will talk about tight coupling, but initially we should do this. So I want to create a function with the name getAll to use it in a getAll endpoint. So we're gonna return a list of category DTO with the name getAll. Simply, we only want to return data source dot to list. Then we need one for create, to which we can return the category details. So we create a category and return it. So here it's gonna be create. We will get the category create DTO as a parameter. We will accept it. Exactly something we can copy even the code from here. What we are doing is this one, yeah. But we don't need this part, and at the end we can return just this created category. Also we need one for get by ID. It's gonna return only one category. Data source dot first or default. With ID. Okay, so now we have getAll, get by ID, create, and then for update and delete. So for update and delete, simply we can return only a boolean to show that the process has done successfully or not. Update, so obviously we should accept into ID. Also the category, category update DTO. So we can code the process which is here. Yeah. definitely we can't return a not found, so simply we return a false to show that something happened incorrect here. Okay, here, so also we don't need these things. Here also we don't need this here, as we are in the same class, so we can directly access to the data source. Okay, and when it's done, just return the true. And final and last one, which gonna be delete, which is gonna be something like this, and then we can data source the remove the result and return true at the end. Okay, so now we can take out all of these logics and replace them with our category service. But how we can use category service here? So first of all, we call this kind of class a concrete type. So category service is a concrete type, mean that this is a real class, mean that this is actually an implement, because here we have many different implementation. So for this reason, we can call this a concrete type. So one way of using this category service is directly instantiate an object of this class. How we can do? We can write private read only category service, for instance, and we can new like this. So let's start. This is not a proper way, but let's use it, and then we will see what problem and what issues it brings for us, and then we should think about how we can handle it. So let's use this get all here. I'm gonna put something where result and put it here. Okay, so here also instead of this we can write category service that get by ID, not type, and we should pass ID. In the create also, what we should do here, we can use category service dot create, and we should pass the category in, and here also we can check either it has created correctly or not. So only we need to check it is either is equal to null or not, and it was. You can throw new exception, something simple, for instance operation failed. Okay, and here also for updating, actually also we can do this. So we can just remove this line and this line, and simple thing we can here write our category services update, and we can pass the category ID and category itself, and if it was a false, so we can return again this one. We can do the same also here, but need the delete one, yeah, and only we need to pass ID here. We don't need this one. Okay, now we are using our category service in our category controller. So now we can say that our category controller is dependent on category services. So mean that for doing its own job, our category controller need this category service. And here, actually, we directly instantiate an object of this service. And this is exactly something that we called tight coupling. Because here that, our controller is using this category service directly. So here we can say that we have introduced tight coupling. And the problem starts when we need to replace or update this category service. So in that case, when we replace this, what happens? So we also have to change also our controller, because this controller now is directly working with this category service. So if we replace this with something else, so in that case, we have to change all these codes too. So this means that changing the dependency also forcing us for changing our controller too. Also, later on, when we're going to write, for instance, unit tests for our controller, it's gonna be a really difficult job to mock this dependency, and it's not gonna be easy to write unit tests for this controller. So all of these issues is something that we call tight coupling. And exactly here is the place that IOC, or inversion of control, and dependency injection, or DI, comes in to solve these issues for us and to rescue us of this situation. So we use what is inversion of control, or what is IOC? Simply IOC means that our class should not be responsible for creating its own dependencies anymore. So mean that this category controller shouldn't create directly its own dependencies, and someone else should do this for us. Simply, the category controller should say, instead of saying that I will create my own dependency, should says that someone else should create this dependency for me. And who is the something else that should do this for us is dependency injection container. So DI container is that part which gonna be responsible for creating our responsibility. And so also, what is dependency injection now then? So dependency injection is the way we actually pass those dependencies into our class. So instead of, for instance, using this that directly we are creating our dependency through dependency injection, we can pass those dependencies through constructor, for instance, to our case. How we can use it here? So here, for instance, we can have a constructor. I'm gonna call it CTO. So this is our constructor. But now, and before bringing those dependencies here, let's create a interface folder here. Interfaces. And here I want to introduce a new interface with the name I category service. It's gonna be an interface. I category service. And so I want to transfer all these things there. So I need this one. And so this one. We should transfer all of them to our interface. So this interface will be a contract between our controller and our service. Okay, now we have all of them here. So this is a interface that has implemented by our category service, so I can put it here. So in our category controller, instead of having a direct dependency to category service, now we will define this as a I category service. Not, and let me bring it namespace here too. So I'm gonna just remove this site because we not gonna handle our dependency by ourselves anymore. So I will remove this also. And now what we should do, so we should accept this dependency in the constructor. So here we can have a category service, then we will pass it to this one. Okay, so now we are accepting the dependency in constructor. And but how it gonna pass here? So we can do this in program.cs. So initially something that we should do. So at runtime, there is something that they call it the DI container. So the DI container decides which category class to create and inject. So initially we should put these classes, these dependencies into the DI container. And how we can do this? It's really simple. So here we can say in builder dot services dot add. So we are adding something to the DI container. There are many different functions here. There are 3 that are useful for us here. Let's start with add transient. So then here we can say that if someone has requested for category service, for I category service interface, you should give him an implementation of category service, which is gonna be the category, service itself, not the I one. Okay, this one. So now the dependency injection built-in feature of .NET knows that if someone requests this one, it should receive this one, and it do it at runtime for us automatically. But what is this add transient? I said there are 3 options here we have. So let's copy this just to see what are the others. Okay. Okay. So we can have add transient. We can also have add scope. Also we can have add Singleton. So actually these 3 are lifetime. They are the lifetime of the service that we are adding. So transient services are created every time they are requested. So each time we ask for the service, we get a new instance. They work best for lightweight and stateless services. Add scope service are created once per HTTP request. So in a web application, that usually means per HTTP request. So within the same request, the same instance is shared. For instance, in the same HTTP request, if twice this category service get requested, same instance will share between those 2 things. And later when we're gonna use entity framework core here, scope is something that we're gonna use. And Singleton also. Singleton service are created the first time they are requested, and after that the same instance is requested for the entire lifetime of the application. Like something that we done in category service, as you guys if you remember here, this is exactly like the Singleton, but we don't need this anymore, so we can just remove it here. So this is the difference between these lifetimes. So here we can start by just the transient to see the application is working properly or not. I'm gonna remove these things too from here, because simply we want to only return JSON, and we're not gonna work only anymore with XML here. So let's run the application to see what is happening here. Okay, application is running now. Okay, so here, so now you can see that we have all the categories here. Let's create a new one. I want to create a category with the name with that 2, for instance. So now we see the category has created successfully. We got the ID 5 and with this name, and we got the 201 response body. But let's get another time the get all to see how many categories we have now. So now we see that we again seeing only 4 categories. So where it went the 5 one that we have created just now. So something has happening here is related to this transient lifetime. So because the lifetime of this service is transient, and we said that each time is requested, it make a new instance. So the instance has used here when we create something is different with the instance that here we are using for getting the categories. So what mean here, the categories here has added to a different instance, and here we have no access to that one. This is mean transient. Each time a new instance is created. But let's change these to Singleton to see what will happen. I haven't used a scope here, because if we use the scope and transient, we're gonna see the same result. In this case, it's not gonna be different. In other case, it can be different, but here, no. So let's go and refresh this to see what will happen now. So here, if we try this, we will see that now we have 4. And if we create now, okay, we created the first 5. Now if we check, okay, now we see there is this one here, because we used Singleton lifetime. So this means that when the same instance here and here between these two requests is sharing, so this is the reason that we are seeing that one there. So here for different purposes we can use different lifetimes. Scope is something that in the entity framework core, when we're gonna add it to our project, we will use it, and I will explain it in detail there. But in this case, there is no any difference between transient and scope for us. And yeah, it's like this. So thank you for watching these episodes. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if it was useful for you guys, please subscribe the channel to get notified about other episodes. So I'll get back soon with the next episode. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.